Let it roll. Stars and stripes in my soul. Steel toes on, boots in the gravel. Heartland truth on every channel. Open Bible, flag on the wall. We say what we believe or we don't talk at all. This is red, white, and raise hell. Cowboy hat, church bell. Can't scare us into silence. We were born to rebel from the back road to the beltway. We won't fade, we won't fail. Proud, loud, standing tall. Red, white, and raise hell. We back the badge, we guard the border. We love our guns and law and order. They try to shame every word we say, but we don't bow down, we just press play. This is red, white, and raise hell. Cowboy hat, church bell. Can't scare us into silence. We were born to rebel from the back road to the bell. Hey, we won't fade, we won't fail. Proud, loud, standing tall. Red, white, and raise hell.
That is exactly what we are here to do today. Red, white, and raise freaking hell. President Trump is going to bring it to the streets of Minnesota if that's what they demand. Good morning, everybody. Thank you for being here. It is, strictly speaking, Unfiltered. Bring a friend. Thank you for being here in the early going. Bring a friend tomorrow. Make sure, actually should be Monday because it's going to be our last live stream of the week. But bring a friend Monday morning. That's going to be the new mantra as we continue to try to grow this channel and really, really have an impact on what's going on in this country, particularly over the course of the next 10 months as we decide the future of this republic. Bring a friend with you. That's all you got to do. I'm always telling you to email 10 friends or text 10 friends. Bring a singular friend to the podcast and the live stream every single day that you come and watch us explode. It is a free-for-all Friday, but it's kind of not. It's always a free-for-all when you do it on this platform. Folks in the chat get out there and do their own thing all of the time, and that's just fine by me. Keep an eye out for the trolls. Obviously, they're starting to find their way to us because they've been aware and made aware of what we're doing. So make sure you keep your eyes out for them. 16th morning, first month, year of our Lord 2026. Almost said 2025 there. And President Trump is threatening to bring it all. President Trump says, we're going to do what has to be done to protect this country. Have a look. I put a little thingy together here for you. President Trump said yesterday, if Minnesota is going to continue to put American citizens in jeopardy, we're going to do what we have to do. And that could mean bringing troops to the streets of Minneapolis, St. Paul. There's the president's quote on Truth Social. If the corrupt politicians of Minnesota don't obey the law and stop, and stop the professional agitators and insurrectionists from attacking the patriots of ICE, who are only trying to do their job, I will institute the Insurrection Act, which many presidents have done before me, and quickly put an end to the travesty that is taking place in that once great state. Thank you for your attention to this matter, President DJT. You know what I find quite astounding and interesting is that the president felt the need to justify it by saying, it's not just me. Many presidents have done this in the past when the circumstances and the situations, because of TDS, he knows already, as soon as he says, if I've got to bring the troops in to restore order to a violent place in which citizens are in jeopardy, in which law enforcement officers are being physically attacked and assaulted, not to mention their vehicles and their property. If I've got to do something like that, then I'm going to do it. And all of you TDS sufferers out there who are going to say that I'm the one turning the military on the people, I'm not the first one to do this, all right? That was what the president's message was there. He had to stick that line in there, and what a shame that is. President should be able to say this directly without any hesitation. I will use the military if that's what has to be done, because the law and the Constitution say that I can. And not only that I can, that I have the obligation, that I should. And instead, he's got to present it. Don't freak out because, other people have done this too. He's right to be concerned about the way it's going to be presented. He's absolutely right. But most importantly, he's right about what's going to have to be done there, because this is beyond out of control. So the president threatens the Insurrection Act. And by the way, good morning to the chat. I'm sorry, I get so into the story and the content, I kind of sometimes forget to greet you. Let's see who's in very early at the start of the show this morning. B. Morgan is up and in. Joanne is in. Casey John, good morning. Roz, I see you. Lisa, Liberty Bell, Sarah, Marty, CAD, Yo Jimbo, B Butts. The regulars are out in full force on this Friday. Zelda, good morning to you. Jacqueline, good morning. Mike, good morning. Floyd, good morning, Floyd. You guys are awesome. My regulars are already in and getting it going, and that's where you need to be. By the way, little reminder, if you're watching on Rumble, if you're watching on YouTube or on Facebook, where we're live streaming this morning as well, we're going to ask you to migrate over to Rumble in a half an hour. At about 7:30, we're going to cut the feed to Facebook and YouTube, because I want more people to congregate here at the chat and also to grow our numbers on Rumble. That is how the organic or the grassroots has to do this before the organic growth and the algorithmic growth can happen. It relies on engagement. That's how they decide what to push out, is engagement. So I need more people engaging in one place rather than splitting out over several different places. Now, so President Trump says, okay, if we've got to invoke the Insurrection Act, then that is exactly what we are going to do. And that means bringing troops to the streets. If you don't know specifically what the Insurrection Act says, it's a law that allows the U.S. president to deploy military forces domestically to restore order. You don't have to declare martial law. It's similar to that, but to restore order during times of insurrection or civil unrest. And you can absolutely make the case for civil unrest in Minnesota now, just like you could have made that case back in 2020 under George Floyd and he overdosed. Terrible situation. He was about to be arrested. He started swallowing fentanyl and other things because we didn't get busted with it, and overdosed, and they blamed it on a cop. But anyway, this is civil unrest, and the president is threatening to invoke this act to try to bring things under control, and he is absolutely right to do so. We'll talk more about that in a second, but what I want to share with you is the response from the Tampon Tim Walz, the mayor of that godforsaken state. And I'm sorry to be as blunt as that, but how else can you really say it? But Tampon Tim Walz responded to the president's threat of using the military in invoking the Insurrection Act, took to Truth Social to say this. And if you have ever seen anything less honest than this, this is the most disingenuous thing that I think I've ever seen after what Tim Walz has said. Hopefully you can see that okay. Let me take a look here. Yeah, we got you. All right. I'm going to shrink it down a little bit, though. So Tampon Tim Walz goes on to Twitter and says, I am making a direct appeal to the president. Let's turn the temperature down. Stop this campaign of retribution. This is not who we are. And an appeal to Minnesotans. I know this is scary. We must speak out loudly, urgently, but also peacefully. We cannot fan the flames of chaos. That's what he wants. All right? Even in the course of trying to say, let's turn the temperature down, what does this effeminate, freakish piece of Chinese communist piece of crap say? And I'm sorry, that's what he is. Tim Walz, if you don't know this, loves communist China. Tim Walz loves Mao Zedong's Cultural Revolution. He went there countless numbers of times. We covered all of this during his vice presidential run. But what is this piece of crap saying? All right, look at that again and listen to it again. Let's turn the temperature down. But then in the very end, his very last line, that's what he wants, the flames of chaos. He's still dividing. He's still picking the fight, even in the tweet in which he is saying, let's turn the temperature down. All right? Again, disingenuine doesn't even begin to cover this freak. All right? Here is something that you absolutely need to see. This is Tampon Tim. Also, yesterday, before President Trump threatened to invoke the Insurrection Act, listen to what this lowlife said yesterday to ramp things up. Just shortly before telling everybody turn the temperature down because of the threat of the Insurrection Act, he's ramping everybody up. Listen.
Tonight, I want to share another way you can help. Witness. Help us establish a record of exactly what's happening in our communities. You have an absolute right to peacefully film ICE agents as they conduct these activities. So carry your phone with you at all times. And if you see these ICE agents in your neighborhood, take out that phone and hit record. Help us create a database of the atrocities against Minnesotans, not just to establish a record for posterity, but to bank evidence for future prosecution.
Because nothing says turn the temperature down quite like telling a bunch of radical, most of them paid protesters, anarchists, rioters to follow ICE around with their cameras. You heard it. What did he say? Follow ICE around with your cameras and record them for not just posterity's sake, but for evidence to be used in prosecutions. Nothing says turn the temperature down like we're going to prosecute the law enforcement agents who are here to get the rapists, the murderers, the child abusers, the child molesters, traffickers off of the streets of Minneapolis and St. Paul. We're going to prosecute those people. We want to leave those criminals alone, prosecute ICE, and we need your help. Follow them around with your cameras. He said this on camera and then sent this out to all Minnesotans. And he did so after knowing what is happening when protesters / rioters and anarchists confront and follow around ICE. What happens? This happens.
Hey, listen, I'll tell y'all nothing. They on the Snapchat, so they gonna be on y'all ass if y'all recording this. They gonna be on your ass. They gonna be on your ass. Your ass is a witness. Hey, don't hit them. We finna break that bitch.
All right. Look at what these savage animals are doing. As Nick Sorter described it, they tied that tow rope to a weapons locker, a weapons locker, a weapons locker, a weapons locker inside a federal vehicle and ripped it out, as you just saw. And Minneapolis police let it happen. The police let it happen. Did nothing. Because it's a sanctuary city, and they have been told to support and allow the protesters to do what Tampon Tim told them to do. Get out there and get in the faces of the federal agents. Drive them off with your superior numbers. And then ransack their vehicles to steal what? Things like weapons, a weapons locker. The agents are in danger. And as Nick said, we need the Marines here now. Locals are begging for relief. What locals are we talking about? We're talking about the non-anarchists. We're talking about the real victims of what Tim Walz has done in Minnesota and what Jacob Frey, the mayor of Minneapolis, has done in the Twin Cities. President Trump is right. It is time for the Insurrection Act, but let's slow this down and let's because of the way this is being framed by the media, completely the opposite of what I just shared with you. It's completely dishonest. What's happening in Minnesota right now, it's not some spontaneous uprising here. This is not just, frustrated and fearful, citizens have tensions boiling over. This is not anywhere near that. This is being actively encouraged, as I just proved to you with the video, as Tim Walz proved to you himself. This is actively being encouraged by the people who are supposed to be preventing this sort of chaos. That's just the fact. And the most dangerous part of all of this is that Governor Tampon Tim and Minnesota Mayor Jacob Frey are not daring the federal government to do anything, and they're not actually asking President Trump and the federal government to find a way to bring peace to the situation. They're daring the protesters to go get more in the face of the agents. They're daring protesters. Take your cameras wherever you go, get these people on film. And these protesters aren't going to be like, oh, yes, sir, Governor Walz, we'll do that. And we'll stand a safe distance away so as not to intrude upon or impede the activities of these agents. We'll stand a distance away, and we'll zoom a little bit on our cameras and make sure we get everything on film and documented, just as you say. As if they know, as if they don't know, as if Walz doesn't know that as soon as the cameras come out and as soon as the protesters and the anarchists arrive on the scene, they're not standing at a distance. They're getting in the way. They're Renee Gooding themselves. They're parking their vehicles in the way. They're boxing vehicles in. They're attacking vehicles. They're throwing frozen water bottles at vehicles, if not at the officers themselves. They're beating officers with shovels and broomstick handles or broomsticks. They know what they're doing. They're daring the protesters to step in and ratchet it up. Meanwhile, Tampon Tim's up there, Mr. President, I'm begging you to turn the temperature down. What am I giving you a deep voice for? It's effeminate Tampon Tim. But you understand the point here. They're daring people in the streets to be more aggressive, daring them to be more obstructive, daring them to be more confrontational. And that's how people get killed. That's what got Renee Good killed. She went out there and literally obstructed and confronted officers, then turned when they were going to try to arrest her and pull her out of the car. They went to the door and said, get out of the car. Then it's like, no, I'm out of here. There's an officer in front of her and screech, and boom. That's how people get killed. That's how, again, another officer doing his job, arresting a criminal illegal alien just 2 nights ago, arresting him, getting assaulted by 2 members of the alien's family who came out, one with a shovel, one with a broomstick, and started beating him, the officer. And then the officer's got to fight them off, and then the suspect comes back over, and it's 3-on-1. So what does he have to do? He has to pull out his gun. And quite frankly, I don't think it's ever too early for these agents to pull out their guns. And that's why the military needs to be there. That's why the Insurrection Act needs to be invoked. Because men with guns need to bring the peace. That's right. You know the phrase peace through strength. It's President Trump and Marco Rubio's diplomacy. That is their style of diplomacy when it comes to foreign matters and more. Strength through peace. It's what Hegseth in the Department of War. We need a show of strength because it's the only thing that will bring the peace. Troops armed to the hilt in the places where the worst of the worst is happening is the only thing that will calm it down and bring the peace. That is turning the temperature down, Tampon. So Walz tells people explicitly to take out their phones. Hit record, start building the database of alleged abuses for use in future prosecution. So a sitting governor in the middle of all of this violence is telling civilians, insert yourselves into federal law enforcement operations, insert yourselves into the equation. You have no role in this. There is law enforcement and there are criminals. Law enforcement is going to try to catch criminals. Criminals are going to try to get away. That's how it works. Okay? The third element of this, the anarchists create a big, big problem. It creates chaos and it creates, well, again, anarchy. I hate to overuse the word, but I don't think it's being used enough. I don't hear anybody else in the media, quite frankly, either the legacy media or the online media. I don't hear anybody actually using that word except for me. Is it insurrection? Yeah, that word works. Is it chaotic? Yeah, that word works too. It's full-on anarchy and embracing of a country, a community with no order and no authority figures, where everyone is out for themselves. That's what this is. So Tim Walz didn't say, hey, stay back. He didn't say, you know what, stay off of the streets. Everything will be more peaceful that way. We don't like what ICE is doing either, but we shouldn't be getting in their way because impeding them is dangerous for all of us. Let law enforcement do their jobs. He didn't say any of those things, did he? He said, get close enough to record them. Get me evidence to prosecute them. You don't think that the radical nut jobs who are foaming at the mouth aren't going to be like, yeah, the governor just gave us the green light to get up in their faces and record them. And you see how they do it. They get up in their faces and they get their little cameras out there, like, and they're this close to the agent screaming, Nazi, Nazi, F-ICE, fuck you, and all of this crap right in their faces. And I don't care how well trained the ICE agents are, and they're very well trained. They're human beings. And when you get in their face that close, within an inch or two or three or a foot away from their faces, and you start screaming at them and recording them like that, eventually human emotions take over and fear of attack take over, and they're going to strike out and they're going to lash out. And you know what? They'd be right to do so. Violating somebody's personal space, getting up in their faces like that, is a form of assault. It's just like our guy, our favorite guy who was carrying the American flag, our camo wearing guy who I think was in Minnesota. It's funny. I don't think I ever tracked down where that whole thing took place, but the one who just started swinging lefts and rights. Do I have that anywhere handy? Just because I enjoy playing it so much. It is like one of the greatest freaking videos I've ever seen. Let me see if I can just give that to you again real quick to remind you. If you haven't seen it, I think most of America has seen it, quite frankly, by now, but this is just one of the greatest videos I've ever seen. It's one of the greatest displays of FA. Oh, here it is. I did find it. It's one of the best displays of FAFO that I have ever seen as well, because these people effed around, and boy, oh boy, did they find out.
What's it like to find a shot of our shit, bro?
Boom! How about you two, Graybeard? Come on. Oh, good night. Oh, you again. Didn't I already knock you out once? You want another taste?
Hey, good.
Now, the reason I brought that up again and played that again, as I was saying, and I sometimes do ADD myself into some situations here, meaning that I chase the squirrel and get off topic. But the point I was making about the officers is eventually, sometimes you get up in somebody's face long enough, even if you are peaceful and trying to avoid confrontation, human instinct and self-preservation takes over and you start swinging. And that can happen to ICE agents too, just like it happened to that guy. He's walking around. He is avoiding confrontation. He is not getting in people's faces. He's carrying his flag, which is in direct contradiction to what the rest of them there are doing. They hate the United States. They're carrying F-ICE flags and so on and so forth. And they're following him around, blasting that thing in his ear. And eventually he tried, like I said, despite all of his best efforts to de-escalate, he eventually has to protect himself and defend himself, and he snaps, and he just starts knocking guys out left and right. And that's what's going to happen to the ICE agents. And Tampon Tim is telling them, get up there and get in their faces and record them. And when they get up there and record them, they're screaming at them, and that's going to make some of them snap. They're human beings. And again, I don't care how well trained they are. They're going to do that. So this is an encouragement of direct confrontation by Walz. It's an encouragement of not just confrontation, but escalation. Okay? Because when you're telling the people to record them for use in future prosecutions, you're saying that they, ICE, are what? They're criminals, right? Isn't that what Tampon Tim basically is saying here? You want to see that again? Tampon Tim is literally saying that ICE, they're the criminals, and we're going to prosecute them. So I need your evidence to help us prosecute them. So go out there and get that evidence. Listen to this idiot one more time.
Of exactly what's happening in our communities. You have an absolute right to peacefully film ICE agents as they conduct these activities. So carry your phone with you at all times. And if you see these ICE agents in your neighborhood, take out that phone and hit record. Help us create a database of the atrocities against Minnesotans, not just to establish a record for posterity, but to bank evidence for future prosecution.
When you're the governor of a state and you tell the people that you want their help in future prosecutions, you are telling them that you believe the people that they are recording, and in this case, literally law enforcement officers, that they're criminals. So you're telling citizens to go out there and confront what you believe to be criminals. And you don't think it's going to get aggressive? You don't think it's going to get more violent? And that's just Tampon. That's just Tampon Tim. What about Jacob Fry, the little femboy, soy boy mayor of Minneapolis, who didn't just criticize ICE, he didn't just object to policy. He told federal agents to get in. Again, I'm sorry for the language, but we are unfiltered. And I'm quoting the mayor of Minneapolis the day after or the day of Renee Good trying to run down a federal agent and then getting shot for it. He told ICE to, quote, get the fuck out of Minneapolis. That's not just, that's not turning the temperature down. That's not trying to bring control to chaos. That is trying to ramp up chaos. Infuriate the citizenry. Make them even more angry at the agents. And demand, if you're demanding that the agents get out, you are essentially, it's a dog whistle telling the people of Minnesota to drive them out. And that's all we've gotten in the week since. It's now been a week and a day since Renee Good inserted herself into the situation, impeded officers, stood there dancing or sat there in her car, slamming her horn, blocking traffic for 3.5 minutes, knowing exactly what she was doing as her lesbian partner was running around on foot, filming everything, filming her. Look at us, obstructing ICE. Look at us trying to stop them from bringing vehicles down the road, et cetera, et cetera. And then when they're like, okay, you've effed around long enough. It's time to find out now. Open the door. Get out of the car. You're going to be you're going to be arrested. Drive, baby, drive. That's what the partner said to Renee Good. Drive, baby, drive. And she screeched and slammed into an agent who had to defend himself to save his life. All because of, again, the atmosphere created. And then, of course, that incident ramped things up even more with people like Fry. So what Walz and Fry and these people are doing, they're telling the mob, these people don't belong here. It tells them you're justified in obstructing them and impeding their operations. It tells the agitators you're on the right side of history. Okay, we will go down as the good side. We're the white hats. Those ICE agents that are trying to arrest murderers, rapists, traffickers, they're the black hats. And when you combine that kind of messaging with crowds that are already angry and those who are being paid to be angry, and we're talking about the massive numbers of paid agitators who are sent to places like this, and we saw it in 2020 as well. not just there, but in Seattle and Portland and all these other left-wing lunatic cities, when you've already got paid agitators there getting a paycheck to go and do what they're doing, and then you whip unpaid agitators into going out there and saying, yeah, we're on the right side. They're the bad guys. Let's get the bad guys. It's going to lead to more bloodshed. This is not complicated. You don't need a think tank to figure this out. You don't need a white paper. You just need basic adult judgment. You put civilians in the path of armed federal officers, and something bad is going to happen every time. Not because the officers want it to. They don't. Not because the protesters intend it. They obviously are not intending to get shot or intending to get harmed, but because high stress environments like this tend to collapse into violence and into a need to use physical will to bring a situation under control. The high stress environments, like the guy being chased around with the bullhorn, the camo hero. It cannot not happen. So when Tampon Tim says, go and follow them around, he is absolutely, and record them. And by the way, they're the criminals. You're the good guys. They're the criminals. We're going to prosecute them. We need you. You're telling people to go be heroic and record people and to create a higher stress environment that is going to lead to confrontations. Someone's going to shove somebody to say, get out of my face. Somebody else is going to panic and swing or run or swing a shovel at an agent. Some officer, some agent is going to misread a movement, already feeling intimidated, already feeling threatened. They're going to misread somebody's movement, and a self-defense chip is going to click on in their brains, and they're going to react. And they're going to react. And then the media gets what they want. ICE agents are shooting American citizens. ICE agents like Renee Good. ICE agents are evil. They're the ones that are out there ramping up the violence. No, they're not. Tim Walz is ramping up the violence. Jacob Fry is ramping up the violence. Ilhan Omar is ramping up the violence. I'm sorry, I mispronounced her first name. Jihad Omar is ramping up the violence. Sharia Tlaib is ramping up the violence. The left-wing media is ramping up the violence. I mean, responsible leaders will de-escalate in a situation like this. Responsible leaders tell people, you know what, folks, this is getting a little out of hand. We don't want to see anyone else get hurt. Stay home. Stay home. Don't interfere. They're here targeting specific people with final orders of deportation and criminal charges against them, etc. Just get out of their way, let them do their jobs, and then they'll leave. And then everything will be okay. That's what responsible leaders would do. But Tim Walz and Jacob Fry, instead of responsible behavior, they did the exact opposite. They said, go get them. Go get in their faces, record the actions of these criminals because we're going to prosecute them. Go insert yourself into law enforcement activity. And like I said before, it's not like this is new. These are the people who presided over Minnesota in 2020. And do you remember Tim Walz? What Tim Walz did in 2020? He gave the direct order to allow a police precinct, a station, to be taken over and then ultimately burned to the ground. He surrendered it and said, give it up. When the city burned and those precincts were abandoned and the neighborhoods were left to fend for themselves, the police weren't coming out to help and do anything. Leadership hid behind their ridiculous slogans and their excuses. They learned nothing in the last 5 years. Or actually, maybe they did. They learned something, but the wrong lesson. They learned that chaos can be politically useful to them. They learned that blaming federal authorities plays well with their radical lunatic base. That's the reality of the situation. They learned that that they can outsource confrontations to the streets to keep their own hands clean by then posting videos like, tweets to where's the Walz tweet again? Super quick. I am making, I don't have it up for you. Here it is. Let me pull it up again. I am making, come on, a direct appeal to the president. Let's turn the temperature down. See, he tries to make it sound like I'm the one trying to keep the peace here. But then literally in another breath and on video, he's saying, let's ramp this thing up. Let's go get them. Citizen journalists, take your phones and go follow these thugs around and go get them for prosecution. Let's turn the temperature down. Stop this campaign of retribution. This is not who we are. You know who we are, Tampon Tim? We're a nation that believes in law and order. We're a nation that believes in sovereignty. We're a nation that believes in borders. We're a nation. By the way, how can I prove all of this? You might be, anybody who's a supporter of what Tampon Tim is doing might be wondering when somebody like me says something like this, how can you speak for the whole nation? I can't. But you know who can? The voters. And in November of 2024, the voters said what I'm saying right now. We don't want illegal aliens by the millions in our country. We don't want illegal alien thugs and criminals and gang members and cartel members and worse. We don't want them in our community. We want somebody who's going to seal the border off. We want somebody who is going to remove those who came in. Trump ran his entire 2024 campaign on the largest mass deportation in American history. He said Biden let millions in, somewhere between 12 and 20 million in. We don't even know the true number because of all of the unknown gotaways. Biden let between 12 and 20 million illegals in, many of them from the most dangerous countries in the world. And I want to mass deport them, which means surging our agents into the cities to go and get them and round them up and send them out. What do you want? You want me to do that? Or do you want Kamala over there to win and continue the porous open border and allow another 12 to 20 million come in during the next 4 years? Which do you choose? And the American people thought about it. And they pondered. They said, open borders, more crime, more drugs, more human traffickers, more cartel members, more rapists, more killers coming into the terrorists coming into the United States, or secure borders, no more of any of the above, and we'll take the ones that we can find who are here and get them out, making our neighborhoods safer, making our schools safer, making our resources less taxed. And the American people pondered that and they said, yeah, to the tune of 312 electoral votes and a popular vote victory, a decisive one, and all of the swing states saying, yeah, that's what we choose. So when I say what the American people want, I'm speaking of what the nation wants because we said so only 13, 14 months ago, and we haven't changed our mind since then. So federal agents are in Minnesota and Minneapolis lawfully. They're there with the right purpose. They're not rogue. They're not freelancing. They're not operating in secret. They're not there for kicks or for, to have some fun. And then Walz goes on TV and paints them as masked, dangerous, unaccountable Gestapo cops, the secret police of the Nazis, suggesting they're the ones who are a threat to the public. That kind of language matters. When you tell people to record them because we're going to use the evidence on your phone to prosecute them, you're saying these people are the criminals. It tells protesters stand up to something evil and something wrong. That makes you good. It tells them to, it reframes confrontation and face-to-face harassment as some sort of heroism, some sort of civic duty, the right thing to do. And once that switch flips, there's no controlling what comes next. It gets even more dangerous. And that's why President Trump is right to say, I will bring the Insurrection Act. He said this on Truth Social. I think I have, I made the graphic before too, but let me just throw this up there for you as well. So President Trump on Truth Social yesterday, it was yesterday morning. It was actually while we were on the air. So that's why I didn't get a chance to talk about it yesterday because I didn't realize it. But yesterday morning, President Trump laid it out, and hopefully you can see that text. Let me zoom it over for a second. And there he is. If the corrupt politicians of Minnesota don't obey and stop the professional agitators, the ones who are being told to go agitate by Tim Walz, and insurrectionists from attacking the patriots of ICE who are only trying to do their job, I will institute the Insurrection Act in which many presidents have done before me, and quickly put an end to the travesty that is taking place in that once great state. Thank you for your attention to this matter, President DJT. So he's right. It is time for the military to enter the conversation now. It's time for Marines to come in and put boots on the ground. I have seen enough. I could sit here and scroll with you videos of so many of the confrontations here. If I want to pull up my my Instagram, because I've been saving so many of these as I see them. Well, I don't want to get it. You can do it too. I don't want to deviate too far from what I want to talk about here. But understand that the videos like the one I showed you of them taking the tow rope and pulling the weapons locker out of the vehicle so that they now have the weapons from ICE being distributed among other criminals in the community. That was just one. That wasn't the one-off. That was just one of many of these types of attacks, vandalism, theft, and utter anarchy, right? And that's why the Insurrection Act does need to be activated here by the president and invoked, and they do need to put troops on the ground to keep people safe there. But I don't want to deviate too far from the main story here, which is we're sitting here in Northeast Ohio, and a lot of people in the chat right now let me have a peek and see how we're doing up here this morning. All right, a little bit of a slower start this morning. Got about 115 people in the room. And of course, we're trying to bring people with us. Don't forget, bring people with you when you come into the room. But a lot of the people here in the chat right now are Northeast Ohio folk, because that's where we originate. And that's what this starting out. It's going to be a lot broader as time goes on. But so let's talk about Northeast Ohio. Don't know if you saw this. Let me share this with you. In a rare statement by Cleveland police, let me pull this up. In a rare statement by Cleveland police, Cleveland police suggest they won't assist ICE officers and in their crackdowns, as you can see in the headline. This is, of course, the Cleveland Cleveland Plain Steamer. That's what I call the plain dealer. It's the Cleveland Plain Steamer because it's a steaming pile of crap on a daily basis. Oh, an almost daily basis. They don't even publish a paper every day anymore because they're dying, because that's how bad the Cleveland Plain Steamer has gotten. They can't even publish a paper 7 days a week, and they don't deliver them. Anyway, you can see what they've got on the front page of that report from 2 days ago. Cleveland police suggest they won't assist ICE crackdowns, and there's the protesters. Justice for the murder of a woman who tried to murder an agent with her vehicle. Had him right in her sights. Impossible to not see him. And then she put the car from reverse to drive and floored it. And boom, and boom. So, this is the mentality of the media in Cleveland, obviously. So I just want to share a little bit about what this actually says. In a rare statement Wednesday, Cleveland police said they would not assume responsibility for immigration enforcement. The remarks come in the aftermath of Renee Good, blah, blah, blah. CPD officers, the Cleveland police statement said, CPD officers will never ask about an individual's immigration status. CDP, did I say CPD? CDP, it's Cleveland, I guess, Department of Police is what they're doing instead of CPD, but okay. CDP is tasked with protecting public safety, and while they will take action against anyone who commits violent crimes, they are not responsible for enforcing general federal immigration law, end quote. So let's just cut to the chase here. What Cleveland police are saying here and what Cleveland leadership is saying here is we too are a full-on sanctuary city. Sanctuary cities are those that refuse to help federal authorities in their effort to bring criminal aliens out of communities and deport them back to their country so they can't hurt Americans anymore. Sanctuary cities saying, no, we're not cooperating and we're not assisting. And what does that lead to? We know damn well what that leads to. The same thing it leads to every single time. And by the way, I didn't set my timer here to do this at the bottom of the hour, so I need to do it now. Fair warning here, if you're watching this live stream on YouTube, or if you're watching this live stream on Facebook right now, we're going to go ahead and cut the feed there because I want you to continue. And if you really want to be more part of this conversation, and if you want to hear from Josh Williams, Ohio State representative, who presented a really important bill yesterday, he's coming up in about 15 minutes. If you want to hear the rest of this live stream and be a part of it for real. Do it in the chat on Rumble. All right. So we're going to cut the feed to Facebook right now. 3, 2, 1. Join us on Rumble. We're going to cut the feed to YouTube right now. 3, 2, 1. Don't want